Hi guys, welcome. Today I'm gonna show you how I did these really fun purple abstract squiggle nails. I'm obsessed with these and I've been meaning to do them for a really long time, and I actually want to do something similar but with a rainbow effect next month for Pride Month, so hopefully that happens. These were not my original idea, so on the next little image clip I'm gonna show you guys what my inspo was. So these are what my inspiration were. I think they're so fun and cute, and I think they created them with a gel polish and also some sort of shimmer effect with a powder that I tried to recreate. But these are super fun, so I would definitely recommend recreating these if you have the chance. My top coat and base coat, I love Holo Taco. I use their long-lasting base and then the super glossy taco. This is the OPI shade that I use for most of my nails. It's You're Such a Budapest. And then I had this little Nicole OPI that I use for the squiggles, and my favorite and personal star of the show, in my opinion, is this Mooncat shade Mermaid Bait, which is kind of iridescent and shifts in the light. So fun. And then I did also use this Twinkled Tea nail powder on top of my dark purple. I don't think it really made a huge difference, but I just love working with nail powders. I think they're so fun and they have such a cool effect, so I wanted to at least try doing that to add a little extra shimmer. Unfortunately, with this nail polish, this OPI based nail polish that I used, it took me about 3 coats to get full opacity. I have had this polish for a long time, so that might be partially why, but this is just me going in with my 3rd coat on my non-dominant hand, so it was easier for me to film and record. I'm just speeding this up to 2 times speed so that you don't have to suffer through me trying to awkwardly and neatly paint my nails while I'm trying to record with my phone camera and also my ring light. So here I am doing my 3rd coat. I didn't film the first 2, but you definitely can get the idea from this. I will say the one good thing about doing 3 coats is that for anyone else who's clumsy like myself and kind of rough with their nails, having that extra coat on your nail polish is not extra coat on your nails is really not a bad thing. It can be nice to have that extra layer of support to help your nails prevent them from breaking. Please disregard the fact that my nails are obviously very different lengths. I did not really shape them super well in this video either, and my pinky broke recently, so that's why that nail is so much shorter. Now for the super fun part, which is the design. This took me forever. I thought it would be easy or easier because it's so abstract, but I really wanted to make sure all of my strokes were super nice and they were the same thickness. I ended up using some Lights Lacquer nail brushes. They're their 3 detail brush set. And I love this set because they're so small and fine. They're such fine brushes, so it's really easy to do detailed designs. This one I honestly felt like was maybe a little bit thin for what I was trying to do, but I really liked the control that I got with these brushes. I used the one that's the shortest so that I would have the most control doing the squiggles. I usually use the longer ones for times when I'm trying to do more straight stripes or something like that. But in the next clip, I'm gonna speed this up to 2 times speed so you don't have to suffer through me painstakingly overthinking every single squiggle that I do on my nails. But this is really fun because it is abstract, so there's not really anything wrong that you can do. You can just do it based on what you think looks cool and what you want for your nails and their shape to complement them. And I will say too, I struggled a little bit with the thickness and going back and forth into my nail polish bottle every other stroke. So yeah, just bear with me with that, but you can definitely see the process took a little bit longer than I was expecting, but it is still really fun and therapeutic and a little bit less stressful than designs where you're trying to make something that isn't abstract, where you know what it needs to look like. I also definitely struggled more doing this on my non-dominant hand, so using my non-dominant hand to paint the squiggles, so I definitely don't think those came out quite as well. I'm not going to show that for the sake of time and also just repetitiveness, but I will show my final nails on the other side, and you can kind of tell I struggled with the width being exactly the same, and I don't honestly love some of the shapes that were created, but it is definitely harder doing it on your non-dominant hand, especially when you're trying to record, but you definitely can get the idea. I will say in the video, or in the original pin that was my inspo, I definitely think they used gel to do this. I could have done that and I thought about doing it, but my only drawback to using gel is that I find it's a lot rougher on my nail beds, and when I end up taking it off, I feel like it peels off the top layer of my nails. So that's why I ultimately didn't want to do that. And the nail design that I did right before this, I used gel, so I already felt like my nails were a little bit weaker. I'm also in the middle of peak volleyball season right now, so I want my nails to be strong-ish, even though they're kind of long for volleyball, as you can tell. So we'll see if we lose any this weekend at my matches. But that was why I didn't want to use gel. I will say I think the powder would have gone on a lot better if I had used the gel. So that's always something to keep in mind. I feel like it's always a bit of a trade-off, but I tend to value my nail strength and durability more so than my nails looking more professional, so to say. So that's always something that I think about, and I think that doing the gel would have made that really cool elevated look for these squiggles, and that 3D effect I think would have been really cool. So if you do recreate this, I do think it would look awesome with the gel as it did in the initial design. And in the inspo picture, I think what was really cool about it too was if you look really closely, I believe that their other nail, they did the opposite. So they did the squiggles the opposite color as what they did for the color that they chose for the base for the other nail, which is so cool. So I thought that was really fun. I decided to keep mine the same on the other hand, but I always love seeing that kind of asymmetry. Okay, and then another thing that I'm doing is I'm also just shortly after I paint my squiggles in the darker purple, I'm going in with my Twinkled Tea Eclipse nail powder, the chrome nail powder. I guess it's chrome, maybe it's iridescent. I'm not exactly sure what you would call it, but I'm going in with that and adding it once my purple nail polish is tacky. I really struggle with this. I feel like it can be a fine line between it being too wet and then you smudge it, or it's too dry and then the chrome powder doesn't have anything to stick to. But, and I did actually smudge it in one of my nails later on, so definitely don't do what I did. Be a little bit more patient. But I'm just using my fingertips to do this. You can use a brush too, and that would probably be a much more professional way to go about it, but this was just easiest for me. If I can do something without using tools, I am definitely going to do it that way, just because I think it's a little bit faster and quicker. Another mistake that I made, and something that I learned in this process, was that if you wait too long to add a clear coat after you do a powder on top, I find that the powder tends to rub off a little bit. I purposely waited until the next day to do my clear hollow taco glossy top coat on top of this, just because I was worried that with the stripes that I'd made, the darker purple would streak, and I didn't want that to happen, which is something that I've done in the past by being too impatient about putting a top coat on. So I thought it would be better to wait, but in that process, I really feel like some of the powder ended up rubbing off, and I didn't get as prominent of an effect from doing that powder on top of there. So again, another pro of potentially using gel if you choose to do that. And then after this, I decided to add a little bit more to these nails. If I had left them as is, this probably would have been closest to the inspo pick. But I wanted to add a little bit more shimmer, especially because I loved how the chrome powder looked on them. And I also thought that this moon cat color looked really pretty with it. So I ended up tracing my purple squiggles on one side with this shade as well. And I thought it made a really pretty halo effect almost. And I think it also helps the dark purple pop against the nails. Something that I will say is I totally just did the side of the trace the side randomly. I chose whichever side I wanted and whichever side it would be easiest to fit the traced line on with this Mooncat shade. So you could do either or. I also think it would look really cool if you outlined both sides. I just didn't do that this time because I tend to have the more gene of not knowing when to stop. So I tried to restrain myself and hold myself back here. And then I'm gonna skip a little bit farther ahead here just because I'm sure you get the point. I didn't end up going on top of this color with my Twinkle Tea nail powder, which could have also been fun, but I honestly didn't feel like it needed it, and I was worried it would almost dull this iridescent unicorn skin effect that it has. So I left it as is, but that would also be something cool to go in and play around with. And then after this, I just sealed everything in with that hollow taco. I really liked the way it looked with the two different colors, so that I decided to stop here. And then here they are 24 hours later with my top coat. I know it's a little bit hard to tell with my ring light, but I really like the way that they turned out, and I hope this was helpful and fun and you enjoyed this video. Thank you.